Welcome tonight. Glad everybody could get out and come see us tonight. So we're going to turn this over to Diane, our program chair, and she'll introduce our speaker.
Our speaker this evening is Dean Baker, and he's been a coin collector for more than 50 years. He's representing the Railsplitter Coin Club, which has also been existing since, I believe, 1963. Is that correct?
No, before then.
Oh, before then. All right. That was the date I think Butch gave me.
I think, okay.
That's fine. We'll take that. And tonight he's just going to talk about some of the coins that he's collected and a history of the coin club. So I'll go ahead and let you go ahead. Thank you for coming. Oh, and by the way, there's a chocolate cake over there for you to take
Great.
home.
If I'd known that, I'd come sooner.
and sample it.
Hey, you know, it's good to be here. I introduced my wife, the best woman in the world, in the very back there. In case I do a bad job, she'll be out there in the car waiting for me.
Straighten you out.
Hey, how you doing? And my former neighbor of many, many, many years ago, what, 40 years ago?
Yeah, I think about 4, yeah.
Real-
40.
4? Real good. Hey, you got a nice turnout tonight.
Yes.
And one of the guys I see at Daphne's every Tuesday and Friday, I don't know his name, but he always is behind the computer. What is your name? You know who I'm talking about. You're always at Daphne's. Maybe he doesn't. No, right. The fellow right there in the blue jacket. I see you at Daphne's every Tuesday and Friday. Don't I?
Kurt Fox.
Yeah, don't you have a computer there every Tuesday and Friday?
I doubt it.
Not Daphne's.
Not Daphne's, Flossie's.
Yeah.
Flossie's, okay. No wonder. Anyway, I see you every Tuesday and Friday. You've got your computer there, and I usually say, hi, good morning. He says hi, and that's it. But now I know where you are on this tonight. So,
Would you make a comment to the media?
Oh.
We have some media.
Where's the media? Well, anyway, I'm happy to be here. I'm Dean Baker. I've been a member of the Railsplitter Coin Club for better than 50 years. I've been a teacher, school administrator, superintendent, member of the State Board of Education, and I love coins, or else why would I be here? Let me give you 2 or 3 things. I brought quite a few samples here tonight, and I'm going to give most of you a sample before you leave. And by the way, I was here how many years ago?
I don't quite remember.
Were you were involved then?
Yeah.
Yeah, Roseanne was
Okay.
telling me about it. That you were here
10 or
before.
15 years ago.
Yeah.
Many organizations come and go. Some stay, some get stronger. The Railsplitter Coin Club started about 55 years ago. Some of you might remember the name Charlie Deuce. Anyone remember that name? Charlie Deuce. What was his business?
Yes.
You know
Yeah, the
what?
big ball of string, and was it paint?
He's a painter.
He was a painter.
Yeah.
Charlie Deuce and 5 other men, about 55 years ago, were visiting, and they were all interested in coins, and someone must have suggested, you know, what we need is a coin club around this place. So we had the beginnings of a coin club 55 years ago in a paint store. Some of you remember where that was located.
With a blue dog.
Pardon me?
Yeah, by the blue dog.
Exactly.
St.
And
Louis.
what's he known for?
Big
big
ball
The
of
big
string.
ball. And where was that ball of string?
In his window.
In the
Exactly.
window.
Anyone know how much that ball of string weighed? It's a good, interesting topic. Anyway.
I got for tonight.
Nobody can move it.
Anyway, Charlie and 5 other guys were interested in coins, so they joined together as a tiny group and joined a coin club, formed a coin club. And they called the coin club the Railsplitter, obviously, coin club. I joined about 50 years ago. I knew Charlie, I knew the charter members. They're all gone now. But from those 6 men to right now, 55 years later, we have one of the best coin clubs, period. We've gone from 6 members to 55 members. We have a strong club. We have a coin show every June, be there in June, second Saturday. So that was the beginnings of the Railsplitter Coin Club in Lincoln, Illinois. Why did I ever become interested in coins? I started out as a teacher way long ago, 1957, and I taught all subjects, everything, 7th graders, 35 students. But I like history, and I was always looking for ways to learn more, like you people are. One way to learn more about history is through coins. For example, here's, you probably can't see from there, but here is a example of all the coins we've had in the United States. We've had the ½ cent. Anyone know we had a ½ cent? We've had a large cent. Large cent. We've had a 2-cent piece. 2-cent piece way back in 1844, right before the Civil War. The President of the United States determined we needed to have on that new 2-cent piece the words, "In God We Trust." First time ever on a coin, "In God We Trust," 1842. Every coin you've got in your purse or pocket right now will have "In God We Trust." Back to 1842. To me, that's interesting history. Why at that time did we decide we wanted to "In God We Trust" on a coin? We had some pretty bad time at that time. "In God We Trust" was put on. Now, a question I would have for you, the way our society has changed from then or your childhood to now, would our country right now put "In God We Trust" on a coin? Probably not. Every $1 bill you have in your pocket has "In God We Trust" on the back, except the year I was born, 1939. 35, I'm sorry. If you look on a 1935 $1 bill, on the back there is no "In God We Trust." This was an error by the U.S. Mint. "In God We Trust" is always on the reverse side. This is called the godless bill. Now you can, if you're interested, not from me, although that's quite a few, you can buy one of these for $2.50 to $3. To me, this is interesting history, a tiny, tiny bit of history. Now, if you've got a question, you have one, don't you?
Are they still in circulation?
Oh, no, no. This, well, if a person makes a mistake, they are. But no, this was issued in 1935,
Yeah.
and different bills are issued every year. You know, you see on the bottom of the year. Collectors have these. Coin collectors have these. I've got several of them. But it's just interesting. Here's something I think we would tolerate right now in the United States of America. Back in 1935, when that error was made, there was an uproar to get "In God We Trust" back on the bill. Now these, you can buy one of these, a nice one for $3 or $4, but they're collectors. They wouldn't be in circulation.
Did they, what I really meant, did they ever actually circulate?
Oh,
them?
yes, yes.
How many
Yeah.
did they print? But I'm sure they
Yeah,
caught
it
it.
was several million because they're very common. And I have quite a few of them. This is a pretty nice one. I've got them from uncirculated, perfect, no creases, nothing, to really in terrible shape. Which means those in terrible shape were used and used and used and used
So
again.
you could still find one?
Oh, yeah, yeah. In fact, second Saturday of June, right out of West Lincoln Broadwell School, I'll be set up with a lot of other dealers. And you'll be able to pick one of these up for $2 or $3, $4. They're just nice to have. I give away a lot of these because people can't believe we don't have "In God We Trust." It looks strange without it. And it is. Anytime you got a question, interrupt me because I'm not sure where I'm going.
From here, it looks like it's smaller than today,
No,
does it?
same size.
Same thing?
But, now, I had an outline of what I was going to say, but I'm going to change that. I'm going to go,
Throw it away.
I'm going to where you ask questions. This was later on in the program. We've had large bills. We call them blanket bills. Here's a $1 bill, series 1923. And in 1923, this is the bill you had. On the back of this one, there is no "In God We Trust." That didn't start until later, 1935, when that happened. Here, we call this a large bill or a blanket bill. Now these are collectible, and in place of $3 for this, you're going to have to go into both pockets and pull out about 100. Because you probably, no one in this room has seen one of these in circulation, have you? I'd be surprised if you have. Back in 1923.
How many years did they make the blanket bill?
They made them before 1928. I don't know the millions, but this is, if you had a dollar bill in the 1920s, this is what you would have. But I'm not sure these are fairly common to get. It's difficult. If you look at one like this, from there you probably can't see, but there are 2 or 3 brown.
Yep.
All right, that means this bill was folded, and folded again. So whoever had that carried that quite a while, not just folded once,
Oh, it's
but a
crazy.
second time. So, and these are hard to get out. This also is, it's a nice one, but it's far from uncirculated, has a little brown spot here. A lot of times you'll see dog ears, you'll see a little tear, you'll see wear. But back to my coins here. We had a large cent, a half cent, we had a 2-cent piece, "In God We Trust." We had a 3-cent piece. We had a 3-cent piece that was silver, a real tiny coin. Then we had a 3-cent piece was a nickel, bigger coin. We had a half dime. Half dime is this one right here. Just a beautiful, small, tiny coin. And by the way, here's the 3-cent silver. I don't know if you can see. You can see these afterwards. And then here's a 3-cent piece that is non-silver. We had a 20-cent piece. 20-cent piece was only for 4 or 5 years. It didn't go over very well. In a way, it was like the Eisenhower dollar, the Susan B. Anthony dollar, your presidential dollars, your Sacagawea, none of those went over. In fact, once in a while, I'll go to McDonald's, buy a senior coffee. Anyone know how much a senior coffee is at McDonald's? I don't either, I just drink it. But anyway, once in a while I like to take an Eisenhower dollar. And boy, I didn't bring one, I should have. I like to give it to a young girl. The older people, it's no fun. They know what an Eisenhower dollar is.
Yeah.
I give it to a young person. The last time I did it, the young person held it up. And I didn't know if a week was going to go by before she said anything or not. But she didn't say anything. And finally I said, do you know what that is? Can you count to 15 seconds? And it seemed like an eternity. And finally I said, that's an Eisenhower dollar. She said, oh. That was the end of it. What I'm saying is, an Eisenhower dollar, you know what it is. You know what an Susan B. Anthony dollar is. Those were mixed up with quarters so often. Many times I received a Susan B. Anthony in exchange as a quarter and vice versa. Your Sacagawea. You're all interested in history. You know who Sacagawea was. I was told the other night by an expert in language, I've been pronouncing that wrong and hearing that wrong for years and years. He pronounced it a way I couldn't understand, so I stayed with Sacagawea. But you know who Sacagawea was. And you know what year she was made popular with what two main men?
Lewis and Clark.
In what year?
25, 20.
No. And who was the
26.
president at the time?
Jefferson.
And where were they going?
Louisiana Purchase,
And what river did they go up?
Missouri.
And where did they end up?
The Pacific Ocean. They're
In
north.
what place?
Oh man, you got me
I
stuck.
love history. There's something about history. My 6th or 7th great, how many grades am I? Great uncle, Arthur Middleton, was one of the 56 signers of the Declaration of Independence. Now think of that. One of the 56 that risked everything, he would have been killed. His family would have been killed. There was money on their head. He risked everything. That's why I love history. Back to my coins. If you notice then at the bottom we have the biggest pieces of coin. We have the silver dollar. We start out with the trade dollar. Now one interesting thing about the trade dollar, and I just got one the other day, the trade dollar was used in the United States every time it went to China in a trade deal. It was marked with little marks, indicating that was an authentic coin. They would come back to America, go back to China, and get more trade marks. You look at a trade dollar that has chop marks on it, it looks like a terrible coin. But those have history. If you get 8 or 10 chop marks, that means that trade dollar went from here to China 8 different times. And every time it went to China, someone put a chop mark on it, indicating it was authentic. So we started with the trade dollar, went with the seeded dollar, we went with the Morgan dollar. Morgan dollar was named after Morgan who was director of the U.S. Mint. 1779 to 1921, every silver dollar is a Morgan dollar. One Morgan dollar, 1921, is not very good. 1921 peace dollar is worth $125. And the reason in 1921 millions of the Morgan dollars were made by very few peace dollars. And the last one is the peace dollar. Peace dollar was minted in 1921 to the year I was born, 1935. And that was the end of it. There were no more silver dollars until 1986, where you had the American Eagle, 1986. Now, and this is 1 ounce of silver. 1 ounce of silver is this much silver. 1 troy, 0.99 silver. And by the way, I'll talk a little about the economy of coins. Gold right now is right at $2,000 per ounce. $2,000. The economy is causing people to say, I better get some gold. Silver right now is at $22 an ounce. And people are saying, I had 3 women in their 70s at one show say, I want some silver. I said, what kind? I don't care. I just want some silver. So I sold them $15, $20. And I asked all 3, why are you buying some silver? All 3 said the same thing. I'm a little unsure what's going to happen to our economy. And they wanted that security of a little silver. So I've been in coins when you could buy a silver dollar for $1. And I've seen silver dollar in 1979 and 1980 go to $25 to $30 in meltdown. I'll tell you 2 true stories about I was president of the Coin Club 2 different times, 10 years or so. We met right across from Postville years ago in 1979. Our club at the time was about 35 members. All of a sudden, we went from 35 to 60 people at a meeting. And the reason was obvious. The Hunt brothers in the state of Texas were trying to corner silver. By that I mean they were trying to get a monopoly on silver. They just about had it done. In the spring of 1979, 2 examples. There was a young guy, 16 years old. He quit high school. And we might say, oh, how terrible. As Paul Harvey would say, let me tell you the rest of the story. When he was 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, he bought all the silver he could. He had no idea silver was going to go high. It was cheap. He just happened to like silver. At age 16 in 1979, he was at a coin show, or coin club, I should say, right across the Postville. Mark was his first name. In fact, a person in Lincoln was his uncle. Mark was buying silver. A man brought in a bag of silver, and Mark put it in his machine. Mark said, that comes to $16,000. Would you like a certified check? The man said, that'd be fine. Mark became a wealthy man through luck and intelligence. I don't know if he ever finished high school, I hope he did, but he had what it took. At the same time, that was positive. On the other side of the story, a man I knew vaguely was jumping into buying all the silver he could because he thought if I buy it here and sell here, guess what? He was buying down here and buying and buying. He was borrowing all the money he could. He bought a lot of silver at $22, $23 an ounce. When it got up to about 25, the market dropped. At that time, I called 2 or 3 coin shops asking, what are you paying for silver? All 3 said, we're not buying. It crashed. Unfortunately, this man had thousands and thousands of dollars of silver. He was so deep in borrowing, he took his life. So there you have 2 examples of one opportunist at one time took advantage of it by luck, and the other way. And as I say, I've seen silver from trading a dollar bill for a silver dollar. We stopped in 1964 making all silver coins because the cost of silver was becoming more expensive than they could get back through a dime, quarter, and half dollar. Now, if you have a dime, and a person reminded me of this the other day, in our economy right now, comparing it the way when I was growing up, a dime would easily buy a loaf of bread. Well, guess what? That same dime now would buy a loaf of bread. That same dime is worth $2 in silver. It was worth a dime as a dime.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you melt down that silver dime, it's got $2 worth of silver. So this is why people are buying silver.
Where did that silver top out at back in the?
Depends whether it was a local market or the worldwide. The local, there was a place in Bloomington called Varner's, I believe. That was a place buying literally hundreds of thousands of silver and gold every day. They had a special armored truck that would take their silver and gold from Bloomington to Atlanta nightly. They were buying so much that they would have to close down their office. People were lining up. Older women, particularly, were selling silver rings, silver jewelry, silver candlestick, anything silver. So it, to answer your question, about $25 to $26 per ounce was about it. Worldwide, it was up around 40 or so.
Well, I'd heard $55.
Well, it may have been 50 world, but
I get things mixed up
it was
sometimes.
about twice as high worldwide
Mhm.
before the market crashed. Coins are so interesting. Let me tell you a couple more reasons. As a teacher, I like coins and coin collecting. All of you remember the Second World War tragedy. Well, let me go first to this dollar. Here's your last silver dollar called the peace dollar. This was right after the First World War ended. This peace dollar was so called to represent the end of war. It didn't work out too good, did it? In 1921. That's how important coinage was. All right? During the Second World War, we had, would you do me a favor, and I've got more to give. Give it as many as you can here, and John, would you give me, let me give you a job.
Oh, yeah.
Give each person one of each. The ones who don't get the plastic can start at the back and give each one one. I want to tell a story about 2 coins here. Take one each of those as far as they last, and then he'll give each of you individual. I just happen to be ambitious and put those in plastic bags. They're no better, not any worse than the others. The coins you have right now are two. You've got a steel penny, you have a silver nickel. In history, and if I were teaching history right now, the Second World War, this is one thing I would show as an illustration. For example, in 1943, well, you know, we entered First or Second World War, December of 41. When we got involved, we needed a lot of ammunition, tanks, guns, the whole works. We found out that the copper pennies, we needed that copper in that penny more for ammunition than we did in a penny. So for the only year ever, Joan, I'm going to use your penny on that. So for the only year ever, 1943, every penny is zinc over steel. There were only 6 copper pennies made, and the last one sold for $200,000. Only 6 came out of the net that were copper. But in 1943, we needed the copper from the penny that was always made of copper, we needed that for bullets and ammunition. So the only year ever in our history, the penny was made of steel. That's why I can pick it up with a magnet. Now, the reason I always carry a magnet, there are some people who will take a copper penny and coat it so you can pick it up with a magnet. But you can't pick up any penny except this one with a magnet. So this was a direct result of World War II, a steel penny. You also had, boy, I hope that didn't damage it too much. Then you also have a silver nickel. During World War II, we needed the steel and the nickel more for the war effort in machinery and so forth. So for 4 years, let's see, 41, 5, we used silver in the nickel for the war years because we needed the steel more for the war effort. So did you get one?
Yeah.
So your nickel you have has 40% silver in it. Then that's the only time in our history we've ever used silver in a nickel. But again, we needed that steel a lot more in the war effort than we needed the silver. So we used silver for the nickel. And by the way, right now, the cost of the government minting a penny and a nickel cost a lot more than what that penny and nickel are worth. And that's the same reason in 1964 they stopped using silver for coins. So you've got to ask yourself the question, how much longer will the government, well, of course we lose money all the time, and this is nothing new, but they lose big time on the penny and nickel in costing more to make them than they're worth.
That's the government way.
It's a government way, so, and you're right. We have things like proof sets. Here's a proof set, 1963. These go through a special process. These are nice to give to people for birthdays. The year, this happened to be in 63. If you know someone, you have a grandson, daughter that was born in 63, or a son or daughter, this is an inexpensive way to give a meaningful gift to them. This happens to be silver. All your proof sets in the 70s, 80s, 90s are not silver, except that they're special mint set. This one you have silver priced in here. Right now, this silver half is worth about $8 a meltdown silver, quarter, $5 in meltdown, dime about $2, and nickel 1 penny, or nothing. But in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, all of these are what we call clad coins. You look at it, it looks like Oreo cookie. They're only $2, $3, $4. There's no metal value in that. Let me tell you a couple things the Coin Club does. If you really are interested in coins and what's going on, by the way, we've met every Wednesday for 55, every third Wednesday of the month for 55 years. I don't think we missed a single Wednesday, third Wednesday. We send out a newsletter like this, a beautiful newsletter. We have an auction of about 125 items. And things like this, say this is on the auction and I'm doing the auctioning, I start that at say $75. And you either buy it, sell it, or the person buys it back. We do things like, we've got a guy that donates his time, money, and everything. He has calendars like early commemoratives. We didn't have our first mint in Philadelphia until 1792. So he's talking about our early commemoratives, the colonial coins, before we even had our own United States coins. We had, boy, if you've ever seen a Buffalo bill, we had bills that we called Buffalo bills. We had a big denomination of a $100,000 bill with Woodrow Wilson's on it. We had
U.S. currency?
Pardon?
U.S. currency?
Oh, yes, yeah. Now, the biggest bill you can have now, which hardly seems right, is a $100 bill. When I was going to college and working for 35 cents an hour, I never dreamed of a $100 bill. I never saw one. A $10 bill was, made me a millionaire. But
Yeah.
right now, a $100 bill, except if you go numismatically. Numismatically, a $1,000 bill is worth about $3,000 or $4,000. An old $100 bill is worth $105 or $10, but $2 bills are worth $2. Here's a World War II calendar. I think Butch sold these for $5, but on every page he has something about World War II history. He had one on early circulating coins. Most of our coins before the revolution, well, before 1792, were French or Italy, English, Dutch coins. We didn't have it, or colonial coins. This is all about those. Here's one on Civil War currency. I've got a lot of little Civil War token sheets that are worth a quarter, 50 cents. But anyone interested in coins, if I had small children now, we would be reading about these. That's part of the United States history. And of course, you tie in the economy with it. Well, I've gone on and on. I don't pay attention at time because the clock is always running anyway.
I've got a,
And there will come a time when the clock stops for all of us, and it won't be. You had one. Good question. What was it?
my first blue ribbon in 4-H, I got a silver dollar.
Mhm.
It's dated 1880, and I still got it.
Okay, now, there are three things, and I want to tell you something else with your patience. There are three things that make a coin valuable. One is, if it's a half cent, it's automatically going to have value, numismatically. The other is, how many were made and what mint. If you have a coin with a CC on the back, it's automatically. If you have a silver dollar down here with, first of all, there are 5 or 6 mints that were. We had a Carson City mint years ago. And on the reverse of the coin, if at the bottom you have a tiny, tiny CC, that coin's automatically worth $100 because of the mintage of CC coins and the the people who love to collect Carson City coins. So you have your mintage, your condition, what was it, and your, another one, mintage, and where it was made. 3 things determines the value of a coin. So, and then let me throw in just some personal advice to you. Anyone who is thinking, say you, I don't know how many people I've talked to in 50 years and bought coins from them. So many of them are daughters or sons whose dad collected coins for years, and they call and say, I've got some coins Dad had I want to get rid of. Well, if you're ever in that situation, you never say, I don't know anything about coins. But if you ever, or you know of anyone, whoever is going to sell coins that he or she doesn't know anything about, advise to you, never go to an auction. You'll automatically lose 20, 25, 30, 35% for the auction fee, auctioneer. You take a $10 coin, you pay your fees, and you get $7. So you're not like the man that was going to sell me his coins, and later he decided to take them to auction. He said, look what I got. And I said, hold it, Bob. You just lost 30%. He said, no, look how much I got. I said, no, Bob. So there was a disconnect there. But anyway, and B, don't take them to a coin shop. Because those people, not criticizing, but they've got high expenses. They got high insurance and lights and heat and all that. So they can't give as much. And be careful who you go to as a private person. Because there's always those who may not tell you exactly, be honest with you. Advice. Now I've wandered over several areas. I hope I've given you some information, but let me give you an opportunity to ask any question you want.
My husband's got a quarter, and I forget what year it is, but it's, I think he says it's brass.
No, it wouldn't be a U.S. quarter in brass.
It's either brass or copper or something. It's a strange metal.
Well,
It's gold color.
I wonder if it's just a tarnish, because I've run across those
No,
before.
he cleaned it up. It's
Oh,
not
okay.
all right,
tarnished.
let me mention something. If you ever get a coin of any value, never, did I say never, clean it.
He didn't clean it up. He just shined it up a little bit
Okay.
to see what it was made of.
Let me give, I would question that because,
And he looked it up in a coin book, and it was a coin. I can't remember what it was. It was brass or copper or something. It was an authentic coin.
well, that'd be interesting. I
I can't
just
remember
never,
if it was copper or brass, though.
I don't
can't
know.
remember.
You've got to be careful. There are so many coins, that are fake coins. One story on fake coins, and Val and my wife and vouch for this. We were at a little flea market show. One guy was set up with coins. A young guy came up, he had a lot of Morgan dollars to sell. He was in a hurry. The guy bought them at a big price, and 3 or 4 minutes later, the guy that bought them, a little bitty light bulb went on, and he thought, I better look at those coins. Every one was a fake. But your fake coins are being made now so that they weigh the same amount as the authentic one. They look the same, and you've got to be real careful.
Well, he just got it in change one day.
Okay, well, without seeing it, I'd be interested in looking. So I've never, I've got coins like this eagle that are painted. It doesn't make them any more expensive. Some they're just painted coins.